So hello everyone. For today's video, we will be understanding deeper one poem from Japanese literature with the title of The Departure of the Warrior by Otomo no Yakumochi. So before we will dig deeper about this poem, we will first know who is the author. So who is Otomo no Yakumochi? Otomo no Yakumochi was a Japanese statesman and waka poet in the Nara period who lived from 718 to 785 AD. Yakumochi was born in a prestigious Otomo family who were warriors and bureaucrats in the Yamato court. He also served as kokushi or provincial governor while creating many waka poems. So what is this waka poems? Waka poems are a special type of Japanese verse that include such form as choka and sedoka. And in contrast to such later forms such as urenga, haikai, and haiku, the term was also used, however, as a synonym for tanka or what we call short poem, which is the basic form of Japanese poetry. Yakumochi was also one of the compilers of Manmyoshu, and here is a picture, which is also known as the collection of the 10,000 Lives. And this collection of waka poetry was one of the first poetry anthologies created in Japanese history. Yakumochi transcribed, reword, and refashioned an unknown number of ancient songs and folklore for which he also composed several verses, wherein around 481 of the poems in the collection were written by him. Yakumochi was known as the most prolific and well-known writer of his generation and is counted as one of the 36 poetry immortals of Japan, and he had a significant influence on the Shikawakash. In addition, the legendary Gunka song Umiyu Kaba, which was considered Japan's second anthem during the war, had one of his most famous and brilliant poems as lyrics. This song was the Japanese Navy's anthem, and it was used as a send-off song for sailors at the start of the war in 1937. Furthermore, during his productive period just over 20 years, Yakumochi also showed himself to be a poet of great versatility. So for us to know more about his work, I prepare here 4 subtopics which we can use for us to deeper understand this poem. So I will start with the presentation of the poem, The Departure of the Warrior by Otomo no Yakumochi.
In obedience to the imperial command, though sad is parting from my wife, I summon of the courage of a man, and dressed for journey, take my leave. My mother strokes me gently, my young wife clings to me, saying, I will pray to the gods for your safekeeping. Go unharmed and come back soon. As she speaks, she wipes withers lips, the tears that choke her. Hard as it is, I start on my way, pausing and looking back, time after time. Even farther, I travel from my home, even higher the mountains I climb and cross. Till at last, I arrive at the Newa of windblown rigs, and here I stop and wait for good weather to launch the ship upon the evening tide, to set the prow seaward and to row out in the calm of morning. The spring mist rise around the isle, and the cranes cry in the plaintive tone. Then I think of my far-off home. Sorely do I grieve that with my sobs I shake the war arrows I carry till they rattle on my ears. On an evening when the spring mist trail over the wide sea, and sad is the voice of the cranes, I think of my far-off home. Thinking of home, sleepless I sit, the cranes call amid the shore birds, lost in the midst of the spring. The Departure of the Warrior by Otomo no Yakumochi.
Upon hearing the poem, what do you feel? Or what do you think this poem is all about? So literally speaking, this poem, The Departure of the Warrior by Otomo no Yakumochi, is perhaps a poem that was inspired by personal experience, or perhaps it was a simple narrative about a soldier bidding farewell to his home and family before embarking on a mission to war. A poem expressing the feelings of a guard upon the frontier with Panta, and this scene is not quite new to us, so I guess we can visualize the happenings in the poem when we read it. On the other hand, if we will apply the new criticism theory, which emphasizes a close reading into the poem, we can sense a deeper understanding of this, that there is still something between its lines, aside from the fact that this poem is about a soldier who bids goodbye to his home and to his family because he was leaving for a war. If we will read and analyze it deeper, we can feel the emotion of the persona, the soldier, or the author himself. That behind his strong aura, there is sadness, there is worry, a fear, and a feeling of loneliness. For us to grasp more the idea, let's analyze it by line. In the first four lines, which has said the following lines, in visions to the imperial command, though sad is parting from my wife, I summon of the courage of a man and dress for journey, take my leave. We can perceive here that he doesn't have a choice rather than to do his duty as a warrior or as a citizen, since this command is from the higher ups or from their leaders. And though this is sad for him to leave them behind, he needed to. He needed to comply to the command as a warrior, as a citizen, as a man, and of course, as a head of the family. Moreover, the fourth line to the seventh line talks about a genuine love. The love of a mother, where he said that her mother strokes him gently, where honestly speaking, even for me, whenever my mother also do this to me, I feel calm. I feel safe. And I guess the same goes to the speaker, as the gentle strokes of her mother is a way of comforting him as he got to his journey, a way to cheer him up. And also the love of a wife who tries to hold back her tears, but tears still run off her eyes. Whereas as a reader, I also felt the pain of the family, the pain of leaving them, and the pain of his wife when she said the words, I will pray to the gods for your safekeeping. Go unharmed and come back soon. And though this is a hopeful prayer, there is still a possibility of the other way around. Therefore, we can say that there is a feeling of nervousness and uncertainty as well, as we know that the word war has a negative connotation as well. Moving on to the eighth line, up to the last line, we can perceive here the feeling of longing, the feeling of being unsure and uneasiness, as he keeps on remembering his home, a home where his family were, that no matter how far he go or no matter how high the mountains are, they were still there in his heart. Well, we can also observe that the author makes use of personification, as he used the sound that the cranes make in substitute to the persona's feeling. And this adds up to the whole meaning of the poem. The use of figure of speech is like a spice that completes the thought of something, that leads you to a deeper realization. And to sum up all the ideas, we can say that as he fulfills his duty, he can rid of the fact that he was longing for them. He is longing for his family. He is thinking of his family, that there is no time that the persona is not thinking of them. And this is somehow what we skip when we just read it. Because this poem is not just about a poem about a departure of the warrior, but this is also a series of emotion from the relatives and of course to the persona itself. Given that you hear the poem and we have dissected the literal meaning and its connotative meaning, now let's talk about its theme. So what do you think is the theme? Well, Yakumachi's style of poetry often had a melancholic air, covering a wide range of themes, and for me, this poem of him is a good example of that theme, where in this poem, if you analyze it or even by mere reading, you can say that there is melancholy tone or sadness in the voice of the persona or the author himself. In addition, the theme love for his country as well as for his wife and family is also evident, or it can be also considered as well. And for the last one, what do you realize about the reading the poem? To put everything into account, let me end this with this truth. To be honest, at first, I really said that, ano ba tong napili ko? As I started to internalize every part of it, I realized that this is indeed a masterpiece. That this is not just a poem that talks about the departure of a warrior, but there is something more that this poem offers. The sacrifices as a soldier and their feelings that somehow we have neglected. The feeling of longing, the feeling of loneliness as they sacrifice their lives for safety of many. All I can say that Otomo no Yakumochi really made a masterpiece, because this is not only a poem, but this also serve as an eye-opener for us to be aware aware of the feelings of the people who are far from us and who chooses to sacrifice for us. And with that, I end my discussion. Thank you for watching and for listening.